Hi, Zizaran here with another video for the upcoming Affliction League, and I wanted to make a short video with some tips and tricks for League Start with some recipes and things like that, just things that will make you have a better start to Affliction that you might not know about. So first, let's cover some of the basic recipes of Path of Exile. So not everybody knows about these, but they are incredibly strong at the start of a league. So if you're a build that needs physical damage on a weapon, you can take a, for example, well, any weapon. This works on bows as well, anything. And then you do either a blue or a yellow rustic sash, and then a blacksmith whetstone, and that'll be, well, you know, you get more if it's yellow. So throwing a random essence or alchemy on this can end up being better than throwing an alchemy on the weapon, because you might end up getting a really good one, or you might get this with just some flat elemental damage. We have a similar recipe for wands, where you do a chain belt and a blacksmith whetstone, and that gets you spell damage. However, we do have really good just like crafting bench crafts for that, so that's not used as much, but it does exist and it is nice on some builds. I do want to show a really cool thing to do, and that is when you get a little higher, like anywhere between 30 and 80, you will start getting Essence of Woes. So at item level 2, you have pretty much no other modifiers than plus gems, so plus fire, chaos, etc. And at level 4, you do get a few more, but you also get damage over time multiplier. So yeah, if you don't need damage over time multiplier, I do recommend making a new character and trying to get specifically at item level 2 wand from the vendor. But it's not the end of the world if it is like 3, 4, or 5, but I wouldn't go much above that. Now, the tech here is that Screaming Essence of Woe, like obviously this will still increase the required level till around 40, but we get 60 spell damage and we get a massive chance that it'll get plus gem or dot multi, because there are so few modifiers that can be had. So this is how I very quickly get a endgame wand. I will use like 10, 15 Deafening Essence of Woe and hope that I hit like cold, lightning, fire, and that'll be a really good wand, because best case scenario, you can get 80 spell damage, plus 1 fire or plus 1 cold, whatever you need, and an open prefix to craft flat damage to spells. So this is incredibly strong. A thing worth mentioning, especially good early, and also if you find influenced rings, is if you do an iron ring and you do a green gem, it's lightning, a red gem, it's fire, and a blue gem, it's cold. Very, very good. But we have a really good recipe as well with if you sell a gem with a red, green, and a blue gem, it turns into onyx amulet, and this scours it. So if you have a lot of essences that aren't big enough like screaming, and screaming essences can be used like chaos orbs, anything below needs it to be white first. So you might have a bunch of essences that you can't use because you don't have scourings and you really need a good amulet. Maybe you still have your Diala starter amulet and you haven't gotten anything good. Then you can use this, and then it's just 3 wisdoms is 1 scour for an amulet. Now, you can't turn it into different ones than an onyx, but at least you can turn it into an onyx and keep alching it, etc. And fear essences are also good for ones like this. If you are using spiritual aid, a lot of builds use spiritual aid makes minion damage the same as increased damage, so very, very good to get +1 ones. Another tip that is absolutely huge is to use the crafting bench on white items. So early on you have huge socket pressure, and all you're going to care about is getting like your red, green, green, your blue, blue, green, etc. And then actually having to look for like good items is really hard on top of that. And you can basically resist cap just by having crafted gear. So it's very, very easy. And then in Act 5, you will probably need 1 or 2 rare pieces, but maybe even picking up anything like Holy Dominion if you're up there, Diamond Skin down here, Cloth and Chain here, Survivalist here, then there's a bunch of resist here. So you do have a lot of options for early resist while having completely white gear. So to get transmutes, all you want to do is sell gear unidentified and you will get transmutes. Another cool recipe is there is actually a recipe for +1 gems. So you can get +1 fire, +1 cold, etc. There's no known recipe for +1 spell. And the way this works is if you see this golem with 20 quality, it has the tag lightning. And you could use something like if this one was lightning tagged and this one was discharge, which is fire, cold, and lightning, and it needs to total up to 40 quality. So that means that if I had 4 gems with 10% quality, that would work, or 2 gems with 20. It's obviously super easy for the demonstration. But yeah, you need them all to be tagged with lightning. The name doesn't matter, but the tag at the top there does need to be lightning, fire, cold, or chaos, and they all need to have the same. So that is an easy way to get that early, and then you can just augment and regal and hope you get what you want. Obviously, this you can do on any item level. A little tip that a lot of people forget about is that you can buy the glass blowers baubles in Act 10. Probably Act 5 onwards. But yeah, you can buy them for blacksmith whetstones. So you want to pick up a lot of those. And remember, you can use your orb of bindings instead of alchemies, etc. Really, really good for that. So if you have a lot of bindings and you're low on alchemies, that's great. However, do be careful. If you use it on a 6 link, it will break the links and force it back down to a 4 link. RIP. Also remember that there's a lot of currency you can buy to swap things around, like regrets turn into alchemies, usings turn into chance orbs. This is particularly good for Kirak early because you might not really need a 6 link right away, but getting an extra 5 to 10 chance orbs to biomass from Kirak can be huge for completing your atlas early. Regrets, transmutes for portals, etc. So make sure you look through these. They're very, very useful. Another thing, and particularly useful if you have your gems in a quad tab or you actually have the gem tab, searching for quality and just vendoring a bunch of them will give you GCPs. Every time they get a total of 40 quality, you will get 1 GCP. That is going to be huge this league because you can no longer flip a level 20 gem in the same way as before. So right now in the current patch, this is possible. You can sell a level 20 gem with a gem cutter prism and it turns into level 1 with quality 20. This is no longer possible in the next patch on your active gems. So if we did this next patch, there would be a wisdom scroll in here instead of the shockwave totem. So the chain support, that is a support skill, so you can still quality 20 your support skills, but they've chosen to move away from active gems. So I mean, it's fine. It just creates a bigger sink for GCPs. And you will really care about making sure maybe even 5% quality gems are on your filter. I usually had so many GCPs that I didn't bother vendoring gems anymore, but now I will. Great tip for new players is remember to hold control when you're entering a new zone if you want to farm it repeatedly. This will let you restart a zone, so if you're feeling a little bit underleveled, hopefully you've chosen a skill that benefits from actual level scaling, and then you can just farm over and over again. You'll notice that we'll do that a lot at League Start, especially on Hardcore, if we're not feeling powerful enough, or we really need some gear. And a really good place to farm gear early is going to be in Act 5 has the best farming spot. This is Chamber of Incense. You can stay here all the way to level 52, really focus on gear, and you are already here seeing things like Delirium, bunch of essences. I think Abyss is here as well. So you do have quite a lot of league mechanics you can farm and try to get some gear. And remember, you do lose resists before Act 5 and Act 10 Kitava. I also quite like farming here in Blood Aqueduct. They're the two main points I will farm if I'm feeling weak. Pretty much nowhere else. But there is generally, I will do a quick, like, Ledge in Act 1 is okay. Riverways is okay. And Northern Forest if you have already killed Weaver. Act 3, City of Zizaran and Docks. Act 4, Come Stronghold. Act 5, Chamber of Innocence. Act 6 is kind of pointless because Chamber of Innocence is so strong, but the Ridge. And also later on the Southern Forest. Act 7, Northern Forest. Act 8, Harbor Bridge. This is really good, especially if you're worried about the two sisters. Then Act 9, Blood Aqueduct, and there's nowhere you really want to farm in Act 10, but you can do Desecrated Chambers. And this is somewhere you can always farm Betrayal. So generally the way league mechanics work is they stop appearing when you're 10 levels above the zone. So if you are here, you can only farm this till you're 72, and level 73 they will stop farming, but I think it's at 63 or 64 zones that stops happening. So at Desecrated Chambers you can farm Betrayal here forever. If you don't know how Betrayal farming works, you can enter a new zone and there will be text on the right when either transportation or fortification appears. However, they have nerfed this in a true grinding gear games fashion way. They have put a group of monsters here at the spawn, so every time you spawn in here, there will be a group of monsters almost immediately. So that was a really weird and funny way to nerf it. There used to be no monsters near the waypoint, so you could just restart this zone until you saw either a Delirium mirror near you, because maybe you want Delirium for cluster jewels, or until you saw the text for Syndicate. So pretty much every time now there is a bunch of monsters at the start, which just slows it down a little bit. And obviously on Hardcore there is the risk that you will die because you do break your invulnerability when you hit the waypoint. So very funny nerf. Now, maybe you have a really good piece of gear, but it's corrupted and it's 6 link. You're on a 4 link. Well, remember that you can switch anything for Vol Orbs. So colors, sockets, and links can all be switched. Now, generally, this isn't used for 6 links anymore. You can, and it is 1,500 Vol Orbs to do this once it's 6-socketed. But generally, people will use Tainted Fusings for those. But early on, using Vol Orbs to get your 4 links, etc. will be really good. Yeah, Tainted Fusings, very worth to do. You will get them from Beyond. Early on, a good tip is that Screaming Essences are usually your most cost-efficient solution, because you can see here, there's only 10 more life between a Screaming and a Shrieking, and it does cost you 3 Screamings. So instead of using 3 Shriekings, you can have 9 Screamings. So generally very, very cost-efficient. Wailings are a bit bad because they cannot be used as Chaos Orbs, and yeah, Deafenings are very expensive. Now, a really good tip, Essence is not on the map device this time, if I remember, but the 7th gate is. The way the 7th gate works is that you need to have that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one all allocated, and then the 7th gate, and then every single map thing will be available for you, whether it is actually available or not. And an extra tip with this is if you happen to find a Einar memory, so this is something that only drops at tier 14 plus, so a bit of a endgame tip here. So an Atlas memory of Harvest Beasts, there is a rare beast you can get from that, and it says gain 1 of each Atlas mission. That works with the 7th gate, so you will get 1 of everything. And I found I was using quite a lot of these. Like, I was using Harvest, I was using Delirium, Expedition, etc. So there were a few I didn't bother using, but with just the ones I used, I ended up farming and saving thousands of chaos, because they are obviously quite beneficial, getting extra like Domination, extra Anarchy, Essence, Beyond, and Harvest. Harvest especially is 12C per. So the fact that you're getting, I think if you used every single craft, I think technically each of these beasts are worth 140 chaos, but they're at least like 100 per. So really nice tip of saving things there. And again, obviously you aren't gaining currency, you are just not spending, which is still nice because it does add a lot to your map. Another quick tip, checking what Kirak offers for missions is really important, even if you don't care about the missions, because he can give you find the stack of full divination cards, and this is super nice. It is always a full stack, and this can be a great way to get an early 6ing, because things like Chains That Bind and the Dapper Prodigy actually don't have an insane drop rate. So while you are unlikely, even though Aphelion got a full stack of Apothecary, you are unlikely to get that level of div card fully stacked. It does happen, but it is very likely to get the Porcupine and the other ones I mentioned, like more like mid-rarity ones. So keep a lookout for that, and you can use divcards.io. It's usually updated pretty well, and that will show you where div cards drop. And a final very important tip, this is again an endgame tip. If we look right now, Mesa is tier 3, and you can see that there is a bunch of different tier 4 maps. There is a cool combination you can do, so they will sell for a map above, and this all adheres to your natural atlas as if you had no void stones. You can see that these 3 mesas will sell for a malformation. Now these 3 will sell for a Vol Pyramid. These 3 will sell for an iceberg, and these are all it's all based off their item ID. So I think as long as you have 6 or 7 of the same map, you can get every map of the tier above. So instead of using Horizon Orbs, you can just like hope that you drop loads of one map, and yeah, you will be able to explore your atlas. So this is something you'll like really learn how it works just by playing around with it. And yeah, it's just, you know, obviously like these and these could both give malformation, but by switching just one map around, you're basically creating a whole new recipe, and you can explore every tier above. Horizons as well do adhere to the actual tier of the what it normally is. So if I put in void stones, that will not change what horizons do, and because of that, that means that there will only be, well, right now there will be 4 different tier 16s you can horizon between. Now do remember, the atlas I just showed won't be there next week. There will be the maps will all be mixed up, so don't worry about the specific maps. I just wanted to teach you generally how it works. Anyway, I hope these tips and tricks, hope you have a great league start of Affliction. Please consider subscribing if you can. It does help the channel a lot. And either way, thanks so much for watching. Try to die less than I do.